Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where as promised, we have come to a halt. And you'll notice that our fuel's a little bit lower. When we came off of, let's see if we can back off here and show you. When we came off of this lip here, we ended up getting a lot of air. Well, vacuum, I guess you could say. So we were flying, and so I steered us a little bit to a location that looked a little bit flatter. It was heavy on the little bit, but we landed over here, and I cushioned the landing a bit too. It wasn't anything too major. That was pretty much all we ended up doing. So at this point, we have stopped here, and all we need to do is get this set up to properly go. So we'll deploy our Drill-O-Matic mining excavator, along with our radiator extension. We'll get both of these drills set up, eventually. There we go. Can we start you? There we go. Fantastic. This one's still moving apparently, but there we go. Excellent. So we'll get that going. Now we know that we don't need to have the units of ore in our outpost, because this contract is not going to be done here. We're going to have to come back with a different fully built unit later on. That's okay. And that'll be fully automated, for the record. So we'll go ahead and start our ISRU, but I'm going to start it for monoprop. At least until our monoprop is full. And I do want to have Milnerd transfer over, hopefully. Okay, now we're able to move him to the mobile processing lab. I don't know why we couldn't before, but whatever. So let's go ahead and open up our service bay here. And I would like... It'd be awfully convenient if there was a collect science button over here, but I do want to, let's see, review stored data. We'll move that over to process in the lab, and we'll grab our crew report. Oh, we require the hitchhiker storage container to be manned. Kim, where are you? Which hitchhiker storage container needs to be manned for that? This one? We'll find out. Okay, I guess we moved over to here. Nope, that doesn't work. We'll transfer to this one. We'll just brute force it. Nope. Okay. Let's try this one. Nope. Okay, it must be this one. So we'll transfer over. For whatever reason, that works. Okay, cool. Now we'll grab an atmospheric pressure scan. We'll process that in the lab. How are we doing on our data? 298 out of 750. We should definitely start research here. There we go. Atmospheric pressure scan is already in the lab. For now, we'll reset that. Mystery goo observation. Any moment now. We'll process that in the lab. Just keeping an eye on the amount of science we have in there. Or rather, the amount of data. That's 670, so we have enough for a little bit more data. The material study is going to be too much, isn't it? It'll pop up eventually. There we go. 309 data. Yeah, that's too full. So that's not going to happen just now, but I do happen to know that the thermometer in here, if we can get a visual on it, there we go. We'll review that data. We'll process that in the lab. Okay, that's 99 data. Okay, so we're just going to have to let this go for now. How are we doing on our electric charge? Our electric charge is fine. Beautiful. So we'll let that be for the moment. I mean, we could extend these solar panels. They're not going to be a huge amount of help. They're going to do some occlusion of these solar panels. But, I mean... it'll be okay. It should increase our throughput somewhat. And it doesn't really matter all that much. So our ISRU is overheated. That's because we haven't extended this radiator. Let's get that extended on out. Beautiful. And this will cool down and get its thermal efficiency back up. So this outpost is now fully online. And that's great. We'll head on back to the Space Center because we are done with this colony for the moment, but we're not quite done with Gilly yet. Oh, wait, I forgot to plant a flag on Gilly, didn't I? That is something we will need to do. We'll double check that. I wanted to check our contracts that were available. We do definitely need to take a look here. How are we doing on timing here? 26 years, 11, 21, 37, 28. Okay, so we definitely want to get these done. We want to pop over to Minmus and see if we've got this completed. So let's hop over there real quick. We should have those units of ore. So we'll hop into our colony core at Minmus. What do we got here? Any moment now. Come on, Minmus. You can do it. We should have the ore that we need. In theory. Yes. Contract complete. Fantastic. And a crew transfer near Gilly as well. Sure. Okay, so that's all well and good. So we can now start working on our liquid fuel plus oxidizer. Okay, our liquid fuel is actually full here. Wild. Our ore storage is actually full as well. So, this is just kind of chilling. Let's check in on our mobile processing lab here. Our science is full. Let's go ahead and transmit that. This should be more than fine. We're on 10x time warp to get that transmission done. Cool. And we've got plenty of data here to continue working on. So there we go, 498 science added. Let's hop on back to the Space Center, and let's pop into the moon real quick. And we're actually going to have to go back to Gilly, because I did forget about that flag. So we're going to have to plant a flag there, but let's hop over to the moon and get the science transmitted back. At a certain point, we're not going to care about the science anymore. Although that will be able to get us funding. We're definitely getting close to that point. Oh, this bug. Okay, let's hop into our R&D real quick and just spend this. There we go. And now we know we need 1,000 science for aerospace tech. There we go. And we'll hop into the tracking station. Things are nice and invisible, but it'll be fine. So we're going to hop over to our colony on the moon. And let's get ourselves our science transmitted from here as well. How much is this going to be? Well, probably a similar, like, 500-ish. Is my guess. This should also be pretty much full on its ISRU, so that should be fine. What else do we have here? Okay, yep, we are indeed full, so that's good. And our science here is also full, so we'll go ahead and transmit that. Fantastic. Going up to 50x time acceleration to get this transmission done quicker. Cool. 497 science added. And our amount of data here... Oh, we can transmit it again. Cool. So we'll go ahead and do so. Excellent. So that's 498 science added there. And from here, we'll head back to the Space Center. We need to go back over to Gilly now. We've still got lots of science in there. So that's all great. Our processing labs produce so much science. We're going to be out of science soon. Or rather, out of things to spend our science on, I should say. So, let's load on in here. Any moment now. Okay, it's still invisible, but I want to hop into our mission control here. Luckily, I know where things are. A satellite in a polar orbit of Gilly. We could maybe get this done with a twofer. Rendezvous 2 vessels in orbit of Minmus. That's probably not something we're going to do right now. I'm thinking we can get this done with this satellite. Yeah. Thermometer, accelerometer, Science Junior, and no requirements here. So we just hit this orbit first. Then we hit this orbit. And we maybe just leave it in this orbit. That could work. That could definitely work. Okay, so science data from surface of the moon is something that will happen. Surface deployed seismic sensor science, huh? Science data from surface of Eve. That is something that will happen eventually. So we can grab that and position a satellite in a polar orbit of Gilly. Cool. So we'll go ahead and leave there, and we're going to hop into the VAB. We want to get our communications satellite set up. We're going to need a few extra bits and bobs on here, but that'll be fine. So let's go ahead and load on in our communication satellite, which will be long-range communication machine. Fantastic. Now, this fairing is unnecessarily large. We can ditch the survey scanner for sure. That is definitely unnecessary, which means we also don't need the alligator hinge. What we do need on here is a Science Junior, specifically an SC 9001. So that would be this guy. I don't like having that on there because it's an irreplaceable science part. It can't be rerun. We can delete this fairing for now. We'll rebuild that fairing. And let's see. Thermometer, accelerometer, sure. So we'll need a 2-hot thermometer, which, do we already have one of those? We do. On the other side, we can put an accelerometer, which is this guy, I believe. Right? A seismic accelerometer? There's no other type of accelerometer, is there? I don't think so. Just double checking here. No, that should count. Okay, so we've got a Science Junior, we've got an accelerometer, we've got a thermometer. We should be able to conclude 2 contracts with this mission. That is our goal. We've got this second stage here. That should be more than sufficient fuel. So let's go ahead and build our fairing here. This fairing does not have to be tremendously wide. Something slightly awkward like that should do fine. Cool. We'll go ahead and save that, and this is going to be shortened in the future because we'll ditch the Science Junior and the seismic accelerometer for most cases, but that'll be okay. And at this point, we definitely do need to plant that flag on Gilly. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's hop out of here before we launch this. Just need to do a bit of running around to get all of these contracts completed. Any moment now. And of course, Eve is going to need to be our next target, and Eve is going to require substantial re-engineering. There's no doubt about that. We may try to lift the Eve colony in one launch. I don't know. That would be insane. But we need to head over to our colony core on Gilly. So let's go ahead and fly that. Fly, quote unquote. It's hopefully not going to be flying anywhere. And we're just going to plant an EVA flag. Kim will be the one to do that, as our scientist is already busy working on science-y things, is I believe the technical term. So that'll be perfect. And we're just getting this, like, administration stuff done for the time being. Okay, we're loading on in. So, Kim, you can hop out. You can grab your EVA report and your surface sample and let go. And we're just going to head out over this direction a teeny tiny bit. Okay. Just go ahead and land on the surface. There you go. And we're just going to plant the flag right here. Cool. So there's our contract for planting a flag done. 368,951 additional fun bucks. Fantastic. And this is fine. And we're going to take down this flag. I just don't want it littering this area. Cool. RCS on. I'm going to jump here, but it's going to be way too much. Yeah, look at that. A single jump in our apoapsis is 2,000 meters. I mean, this is sea level. Okay, fair enough. That was actually only like a 100-meter jump. But that's still insane. Well, we're going to hop back in here. Cool. Hopefully no Kraken. And we'll board. Excellent. So heading back to the Space Center, now we need to send that communication satellite over. And the goal is that we're going to fulfill both of those contracts with this singular launch. The polar orbit will be the quote-unquote easier one to get for now. So that's going to be our target orbit for the moment. But it'll be a little while before we get there. Then once we're done with this, we're going to have to put our unmanned quote-unquote colony in there. And that'll be interesting to see how we manage to do that. But then after we're done with that, we're going to start targeting Eve and then Moho. And then from there, we're going to work our way out in the solar system. This series has a while left. Eve is going to be very, very, very interesting. We'll fire up the long-range communication machine here, and let's go ahead and launch this. We should have no problem with this whatsoever. So we're just going to look to get this guy in orbit. Actually, what do we have for battery in this? Now that I think about it. Come on, you can load on in. I want to know what we've got for battery. It should be enough. I think we already fixed that problem. But, 1015? Yeah, that'll be enough. Cool. So we'll throttle up, SAS on, and off we go. Fantastic. We're going to start the gravity turn sometime around probably now. There we go. And we'll just lock to prograde and call that good. And we'll see what this trajectory ends up looking like. Should be good enough, anyway. We've got so much fuel in this thing. Like, the funny thing is, our overall delta V is going up right now. As the atmosphere thins out. This is so much. So these side tanks are going to be burned out in about 40 seconds, right? And we've drifted off of our heading ever so slightly. We can try to correct that by pulling down over this direction. And we've got this nice, beautiful sunrise coming up here. I like it. Launching directly into the sunrise. Indeed. That's very neat. And there we go. We've got a sunrise. Excellent. I'm just correcting our trajectory a little bit more. We're still on that 91-degree heading. And we ditch our side boosters. Our apoapsis height is plenty high. I don't want to go this way. Let's head on over towards the horizon. And we're going to chill here. And we can ditch our fairing quite soon here. Right about now. Excellent. So we're going to push our apoapsis height up to, I don't know, 150. I'd like to get a bunch more horizontal speed here. 150 is probably fine. So we're at 122 right now. 125. Yeah, it won't be too much longer. So this will be good. We're going to have a lot of fuel left in this tank. And we're now officially in the vacuum of space, so that's great. We can immediately extend our solar panels before I forget to do that. Perfect. They're definitely not occluded at all by the relay antenna. I love it. By definitely, I mean they're occluded a little bit. Okay, so we're parking about here. We've overshot our apoapsis target. It's fine. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to pop out over this way and circularize something along the lines of this. Beautiful. We'll lock to that maneuver mode. Maneuver mode? Okay, apparently this is a maneuver mode now. New mode. Fantastic. We're going to head on over to the maneuver mode, which is apparently a thing, and we're going to warp on forward. And just coast our way up until this burn time. 50 seconds to go. 20. 3, 2, 1, mark. And off we go. Well, we're not really going anywhere just yet. We're getting into orbit. And then we're probably going to look to do a standard gravity assist around the moon, flinging us out. And then an inclination change, home and transfer over to Eve, is probably the flight plan here. Okay, just finishing off this burn a tiny amount. It's fine. It's close enough. We'll set the moon as our target. And sometime around here-ish is likely when we're going to look for this. Okay. We do see an encounter there. And is this an escape trajectory? Not quite. So something kind of like this. Is that an impact trajectory on the moon? It is not. That's a gravity assist. Okay, I like it. So let's just move on around here until we get to our designated position. Very close to retrograde at this time, but that's because we're going to have to do nearly a full orbit. And let's go ahead and warp on around. Cool. And we're going to begin our burn for the moon in about 1 minute. 30 seconds. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, mark. And now, off we go. So this is going to use up the majority of this stage, but it's not by any means going to use all of it. We've got so much fuel in this thing, it's absurd. We've got way too much fuel in this thing, but I like to overbuild. Better to overbuild and have situations like we were just able to squeak in our ghillie landing than to underbuild and not be able to do it. Okay. We're 4.1 meters per second off here. Is this still good enough? It is. So we'll call that fine. At this point, we should... that isn't actually fine. This is an impact trajectory. I should have noted that earlier, but we're going to need to whip around a retrograde here. Any moment now. There we go. We managed to wiggle our way over. And we're just going to pull this back a little bit so that it's no longer impacting the moon. And that's an escape trajectory. Good. Now we warp here. Goodbye, Kerbal. We will not be back. Well, with this vehicle anyway. And here we come, moon. We're about to enter the sphere of influence of the moon. There we go, loading that in. Perfect. Now we get our gravity assist around the moon. Thank you for your gravity, moon. Goodbye, moon. We're out of here. And we're going to be heading back into the sphere of influence of Kerbal here in a moment. There we go. And now we exit Kerbal. So this Kerbal escape is going to be up here. We'll just go ahead and warp up there for now. Goodbye, Kerbal. Goodbye, moon. Goodbye, Min-Miss. Just sailing by over there, barely visible. Cool. Goodbye, all of you. We are not going to be back with this vehicle. So we've got 279 meters per second left here. Next up, of course, we want to warp to be somewhere around here. This will be in the sphere of influence of the sun. There we go. We'll set Eve as our target, and this is going to be a pretty big warp, looks like, for the ascending-descending nodes. That's fine. We didn't time this, so it's completely fine. Let's see here. We want to go this direction, and it'll be about 345.2 meters per second. Cool. We'll get set up for that. And this is going to be a little bit of a time warp here. There will be a few of those, but it won't be too bad. So let's go ahead and get this time warp going. It is around time to put a cut in here, though. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that probably after the inclination change, right? Let's do the inclination change, and then we'll figure out our transfer burn. There will probably be a pretty substantial time warp before the transfer burn, so that would be a decent time to put a cut in and just cut out that time warp, right? I think that'll be fine. We're nearly done with this time warp as it is, and I'd like to get this stage burned out. That would be great. So let's just go here. And this should be just fine. Another 10 more days on this time warp. Cool. Another 10 seconds. 2, 1, mark. Excellent. And stage separation. Fantastic. So another 30 meters per second here. Now that should be good enough. Yeah, it is. So at this point, let's look for an encounter. And what would that encounter end up looking like? Yeah, this is very much on the wrong side of the orbit. So it looks like we will have to add one orbit in here. So this will be a lengthy time warp. Okay. Not too bad of a burn. And what is the actual orbit here looking like? Now that we can work with. So the retrograde burn here won't even be that much. Like, we're not even coming in all that fast. Since we're basically at the periapsis when we do this encounter. That's 263 meters per second to get it captured. I love it. So this is going to be a lengthy time warp, as I said. We're going to go ahead and get that started right now. And next episode, we are going to come back right at approximately the time for this burn. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including Casserole, ALS Gamer, Kentuin, James, Shadow Wolf, Mlohan80, Kentogan, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Unisol, Kadra, Rogue Corvid, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.